All right, so apparently this is going to be the second part to the podcast.
Second part.
Because apparently we had some technical difficulties with my iPhone storage. So here we are. We were just talking a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we do. We were talking a lot of shit about Stalin. We're talking mad shit about Stalin. Yeah, what an asshole.
Oh yeah, man. But it's like the thing about history. Like, there's so much stuff going on all at once that you don't really have a window to it.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, 50 million people died, and you don't even know how to quantify that in your head.
Yeah, you can. They say that people can't really quantify anything past 2,000 units of something.
Yeah.
You can't really conceptualize it, 50 million fucking people, man. And apparently he killed his own soldiers too. If you felt like they weren't following, I mean, you could write me if I'm wrong, because you're.
Oh no, I have no
story.
Go ahead. This is your story.
But you have more than I do. But I heard that he even killed some of his own soldiers because he felt like they weren't following his own orders, and so he just took them out. But there was a guy by the name of I don't know if you know Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
I've heard that name before.
He wrote the Gulag Archipelago.
Oh, that's where I heard the name.
Yeah, and apparently it was like the most influential book because it explained detail by detail, how bad communism was. And he was talking about how people were just dying in these gulags, and I don't know, people are fucking insane, dude. I never understood how people have that mindset of power. I don't understand. There's always that personality that just wants to control people.
It's like, as a fellow non-psychopath, I can't really tell you that, but I could have some theories.
What do you think it is, man? What's the theory?
All right, so I kind of subscribe to the idea that you can't really quantify things as just pure evil or pure one thing at all.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of choose to accept that people. Oh, we are in the air. Anyway, right. So the thing I like to think about is that you have to have a good intention, or at least something in your mind is a good intention to push yourself that far.
Mm-hmm.
Or if not even a good intention, enough drive in yourself, enough drive in your destiny to try to move stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, who really conceives themselves of running a state that large, right?
Right.
You can't what are you have mostly maybe lead a team of 20 people.
Yeah.
Productively.
Right.
Try leading a nation.
Right. That's not an easy task.
Yeah, no. I think it's because everyone's born with the idea of the perfect world, right? In their head. So and so many people don't need to die for this reason. People eat, people live, people are happy. Now, think about how would you feel, Pedro, if you had a certainty, a conviction so deep that you knew that perfect world that you're have in your head cannot come to fruition unless you do everything you can in your own power to make that happen. And it can happen. That's unless you're in control. Yeah.
I don't know too many people with that kind of conviction, honestly.
If I knew anybody like that, I would report to police.
I wouldn't know. I don't think. Have you ever met anyone like that?
I can't say I have. If I did, I'd probably be very scared. I'd probably be a little bit stale.
Yeah. So people are fucking out of their minds, man.
Oh yeah, man. You know what? There's something really funny that I saw. Well, not funny, funny in a comic sort of way. But this is gonna be very off topic. But do you remember as I almost tried to introduce you to the concept of the 40K, Warhammer 40K, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay, yeah.
Well, for the viewers, what is that?
For the viewers. So basically, there's this fictional universe called Warhammer 40K,
mm-hmm.
where humanity's off in space, making a conquest of the galaxy, have
mm-hmm.
millions of worlds under the control. Trillions of people have been born in these worlds, working and stuff for the war effort of humanity. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's aliens outside of there, and there's even the demons, deeper in the cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, though, this universe is very, very dark, and by dark I mean there's no good guys. Humanity is out there expanding their reach and stuff like that, right? But they're not fighting to make a future for humanity. They're fighting to survive, because there's at least 3 major alien species out there that can either consume them, want to kill them for fun, or try and subjugate them into a religious cult. So humanity literally throws out millions and millions and millions and millions of human soldiers every day to the meat grinder of the galaxy just to stop the hordes of aliens to consume humanity. And they've been at it for 10,000 years as a collective empire. But the problem is that this empire is like so old and so decrepit that no one knows what they're doing and no one knows who's running it. That there's even like an entire like pantheon. This is an entire like council of just people bouncing check sheets and like books, and, like, you know, trying to like logistically like move supplies or right. There's just like a bunch of bureaucrats running stuff in the background.
Yeah.
But even they don't know what the fuck they're doing. No one knows what the fuck is going on. They're just all running trying to survive.
Holy shit.
Now, I bring this up because in one of the stories, because it's like there's like 40 different books in this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in one of the stories of those books, there's one bureaucrat lady, right? Who, the way it works in this place, if you're a bureaucrat, like, you know, like going through, you're called a scribe, and you're born into the role. You're literally born into like a family of scribes, and they put you into the role of being a scribe, and you're locked inside a library for the rest of your life for 80 years, as you like distribute, like push buttons and like, you know, do hymns to try to not lose yourself in the madness of paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
So then she accidentally like she had a list on her hand, a form, and she was meant to send like certain supplies somewhere else. She made a mistake, and those supplies went to some other place instead of going where it's supposed to. And that one mistake cost a lot to 84 people. Now she freaked out about this whole thing because she knew that if you make a mistake in the empire, you get killed immediately. So she tried to hide her identity, switch names, moved to the different sector, and like tried to like live on. But then she's thinking like, you know, they're gonna pursue her, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no one did. No one caught her. No one like even thought. No one even knew something bad happened. The reason why is because like there's millions and millions and millions of miles of red tape just in bureaucratic paperwork that can lead from her actions to like the problem that happened in the field because of her mistake. So no one would ever be able to figure out what she did. So then she like when she realized that this is how broken the system was, she did it again and again and again and again and again, sending faulty gas masks to a planet full of toxic gas, sending food that she knew was gonna spoil to a world where 40 billion people died. She would send like faulty weaponry and like reinforcements to places where they didn't need them and let other planets just fall to the reign of the aliens. She didn't do this to like help the aliens. She did this just to say fuck you to the empire because it's just how much of a bureaucratic nightmare everything has become.
Wow. Damn.
So her alone, in her position, just as a bureaucrat, has led to billions of people all across the galaxy in the span of a year for her faulty orders.
Holy shit. Wow.
Now imagine though. That's not even like she's not even like a world conquering psychopath or like a war or like a dictator of any kind. She was just in a certain position and she just made a choice that led to the deaths of billions.
Holy shit, man. So I'm not gonna lie to you, being a case manager is kinda like that.
Yeah.
Except don't resign from your ashes.
Yeah. Maybe that's where I have some influence.
Oh man, holy shit.
Maybe that's why I don't relate to it, but maybe that's why I understand.
Oh man. By the way, guys, this episode is brought to you by water. Can't really tell you the brand of it,
But I can tell you that Nestle is stealing billions of gallons of water from African tribes.
yes.
Capitalism.
We're kidding.
Oh, I'm not kidding.
Wait, why?
Yeah, no, Nestle, the
Nestle?
Nestle.
Nestle.
Yeah, you know, Nestle, the corporation that brings you those crunch chocolate bars
Mm-hmm.
and like baby formula and like, you know, all this shit you don't really like think about. Yeah, they're an evil, horrible company. Like literally one of the top 10 just pure evil companies in the world.
Why are they sending things from Africa?
So Nestle is currently making a big bid for the last decade or so of buying up water rights for different parts of the world. And they bought the water rights for like a certain part in Africa where like there's like, you know, like people living there, right? And they this has happened more than once, but there's one really big documented case where there was a village that had like a water supply nearby, and Nestle just literally just sucked all the water out of that and diverted it to like, you know, their own means to put it into water bottles. And as the village was dying of like, you know, thirst, Nestle was selling their bottles back at them at a profit.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and that's the thing though, Pedro, that you consider that evil, right? That's like arguably like pure evil, right? Think about like the people behind that decision. Think about what came through their heads when they made that choice. They weren't like, let me make a choice that's gonna inflict as much like human suffering into this like random African like village as I can, right? They're just like, oh, I have a spreadsheet. This is how many like gallons of water that we have like in as a cell, and it's like, you know, we can distribute it. All these numbers and zeros. Here's the number of people that are willing to buy it. They have no look. They can't see the village that they're stealing the water from. They just see a spreadsheet of numbers that they're just moving around in order to do their job.
Yeah, but isn't that always like how the elites operate in any given society? They're so disconnected from reality.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because I've met people like that too, we actually spoke about one of them today, where it's like you could just, like, they don't really seem to have any grasp of poverty, or they don't have a grasp of what it looks like when people are doing drugs on the street, homeless people, you know, kids who are running around without, you know, any clothes on, like as you would see like in a third world country. So do you think it's that, or maybe they're just well intentioned, but they just don't really consider the consequences of their actions, or maybe it's just blind. I wouldn't even call it idealism. Really, it's not idealism that they're operating under, but it's pure rationale that they're operating in. Like, what do you think it is?
So, the really big part about the really big privilege you get for being rich is that you're separated from a lot of things. Like we're talking about, they don't see poverty, they don't see like people in the streets doing drugs. They live in gated communities, or they live in places where like that's not even the problem, or not even like an idea in their minds, right? Now, a company is like constructed of thousands and thousands of people, right, in different positions doing their own little thing, like a hive. And let's say you're the guy that gets to decide like where the water gets sold and distributed to, or like where, and like it's not your job to figure out where the water comes from, right? You had no, and like, you know, you just get an order, you just, you know, move it around, and you know, get it distributed to where it goes, and you get paid your salary. You don't even think about it. You don't see any of the process. Mm-hmm. You don't see where the water came from, whose job it was to siphon it off of that village. You don't see whose job it is to sell it to the villages back to them for a profit. You're just seeing numbers on a spreadsheet. You're just seeing like, you know, your job is general manager so and so and so. That doesn't correlate to anything you're looking at. You don't see the impact of your actions, because how can you? You're not doing something directly to anybody. You're one cog in a 1,000-man machine that just eats and eats and eats for just the goal of making more profit. And profit's good. Profit keeps your family alive. Profits keep you happy. Profits keep your house warm.
That's why. Ooh.
You don't have to think about it further. You're just doing what you're supposed to do in order to keep your family safe. But, you know, some people, some places have the choice to, you know, change that. Maybe somebody up in Nestle can, you know, choose not to do that to a village. Maybe like a lot of like news stories could come out, like, you know, bring this to like, you know, populations like awareness, and like, you know, they can protest it, make it stop or something. But the tragedies happen not because it'll save us $1, it'll save us a cent on the dollar if we let all the suffering happen. It's like it's just one big giant machine. No one has a scope to see what's going on. Not even the people at the top know what the fuck is going on.
Wow. Yeah. I think that right there is one of the pitfalls of capitalism. You think?
I would say a pitfall of capitalism, but also a pitfall of like any major organization of humanity. Monarchs still have this problem too. They don't. If you're a monarch and you just like, you know, going through paperwork the other day, one of the under sheets of paper was should we get aid to this village? And no, I guess I don't know. We had like, it said back in the budget. You didn't think that one momentary decision has just sealed the fate of 50 people in a village that have like no rations to survive winter. Anytime we gather enough power to like have a sizable impact on the world like this, to the point where you're just away and you can just throw orders out, you're never going to see things that's happening. You're just seeing what's being told to you as like feedback. A lot of times too, a lot of these like dictators have people that surround them that are scared of them and don't tell them the truth.
That's what happened with Stalin. I heard Stalin ended up dying alone in his own room with nobody around him, ironically, because he killed them all. But it's, yeah, I can imagine. I could definitely understand that.
Now there's also,
so obviously they're not getting the proper feedback that they need to look at reality for what it is. Another thing too, I heard that also interesting fact. Hitler actually never visited any of the concentration camps.
That makes sense.
That he had organized. And they also mentioned Jordan Peterson, the famous clinical psychologist. He mentioned that there was a reason why Hitler was so careful about, you know, cleanliness around his home. He used to take a lot of baths all the time.
Do you remember Hypochondria?
Yes. Well, something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that, right? But he mentioned that he always had to take a shower, and that he was easily disturbed and disgusted by the smallest mess around. And what Peterson said was, I'm probably going to misquote him, but he was mentioning how like that was a psychological way of him coping with the sort of his conscience is telling him that he's fucking up. Like you are destroying lives, you're killing people, and so it's his way of psychologically cleansing himself of all of that.
Wash his hands in the blood.
Yes. So I think the same thing happens to a lot of dictators, and to some degree to a lot of these monarchs and also these large corporations. You know, but I mean, there's limits to being rich, I guess, and powerful.
This world has limitations on any like scale, right? But on the subject of like the evil corruptness of like giant large organizations, companies included, something really like messed up is that imagine if you were a guy, right, you're a high-end executive, you probably arguably had the power to, like let's, stop these kinds of atrocities from happening like from your company, right? Who's going to tell you that's happening? Whose job is going to be on the line to tell you that, hey, listen, this so-and-so sector, like, in this part of this country is like taking this water from like this like a village of people that really need it. And if you tell them that, then the guys who's running that job is over. Then the guy who's under him is over. The guy who's under that guy's over. And like there's like a chain of jobs that can just be gone like that, right? Mm-hmm. Now anybody in that chain of be liable to be gone could probably see a piece of what's going on, right? The guy that's delivering, the guys like sucking the water can see the people around. He's aware on some capacity of what he's doing. The guy next up to him, who manages like where the water goes, is aware he's taking water away from this place and that place, right? Mm-hmm. He has some level of awareness of what's going on. The guy above him gets to see the spreadsheet of the quantities of water in different regions moving around, and how much being generated. He has no awareness of where the water's coming from. The guy above him who gets to decide what all those jobs do, no information of any of that went up to him, because the guy on the ground could lose his job if they mention about anything that's going on. And he talks about this to his boss could fire him because his boss is going to have the knowledge that he's going to have to pass on to the next guy. So everybody wants to save their ass and not risk themselves because their family's on the line if they fuck up, and that just perpetuates a lot of evil in the world.
That's so bad.
Yeah,
that is so bad. What do you think causes evil? Do you think it's precisely that? Is it people just trying to save their asses? Or could it be like the human, this human need of not wasting so much mental capital on something because we're just inherently lazy and we don't want to do anything to stop something? Is it our limited capacity to handle the complexity of the world?
I think evil comes in many forms, but the evil I was describing with that kind of comes from the evil, two different kinds of evils, which I'm just naming on the spot because I haven't really thought about this through before until now. But the first kind is the lack of the evil of lack of awareness, right? And this is not me saying that it's evil to not be aware of stuff. You can't possibly aware of everything. But in this world, think of things on a mathematical sense. Your actions have consequences that lead down, a big branching path of consequences down that path, right? And you don't know, we have no awareness what even your actions will bring about down the line. You making the simple choice of I'm gonna take this job, as a truck driver for to move water around. You don't have the idea that that decision to drive that water truck is what's transferring the water away from the village, let's say, right? For this example, so let's take an example. Or I'm gonna buy this stock of this thing, and the stock rises a lot, and the value of Nestle goes really, really up, and then that incentivizes them to do more evil. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're not aware of doing evil. The guy who bought the stock wasn't aware of doing evil. They're just a certain math that just plays out in the universe where you're not aware of what your actions will do, which then later down the line cause evil. And by evil, I mean suffering and pain, torment in the world, right? Mm-hmm. Then there's the second kind of evil. There's callous evil. I'm aware that there might be something wrong that might go happen like this, but I'm not going to see it. It's not going to be important to me. Why do I care? Mm-hmm. And that's something that a lot of people...
It's selfishness.
Yeah, it's selfishness. Mm-hmm. And that's an evil that we all commit, in a sense. I know I make that choice. When I make the choice of I know Amazon is burning down basically small businesses and stuff like that. I need that tomorrow.
2-day shipping.
That's America. Dude, Amazon literally changed American culture.
It really has.
Yeah.
I agree with that I agree,
Yeah.
man. Wow, absolutely. And I think COVID too definitely changed it.
Yeah, COVID too. But like, I think even without COVID, Amazon's already on pace to like do this.
Wow. Do you think Amazon is evil? And by Amazon, I really mean Jeff Bezos.
I don't think Jeff Bezos is evil.
I
he's
mean,
not-
he kind of does look like Dr. Evil, man. And you got to be real with that.
Any bald man that's ripped and in a position of power is just gonna cause evil radiation, bro. You can't look at me and you can't look at a guy in the eyes that has no eyebrows and not think evil. Not offense to anybody bald or with like no eyebrows. I'm just saying, if you're bald and no eyebrows and you have billions of dollars, you're probably evil,
There's no other explanation.
right?
There's no other explanation.
But I don't seriously think he's evil. At least because like, for two reasons, he wouldn't gain anything from being evil. He will only lose things for being evil, for the purpose of being evil. And secondly, he's a man in a position no one else has in this world, maybe besides Elon Musk and maybe the cabal of chatting figures running the government. But like he's in a position right now where like he can basically do anything he wants, and like he's not gonna choose to do evil. He can do cool shit like shoot shit into the sky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you think he's evil?
I don't know.
His corporation might be evil, in the sense it's causing suffering to the world.
He seems like such a likable guy. I don't think he is evil. He just seems too likable.
Charisma's kind of the thing, though. Charisma's like amoral.
You think charisma? Wait, what'd you say?
Charisma's amoral.
Why? Why do you say that? That's interesting. Charisma is amoral. Why is it? Because the good guy can have it, the bad guy can have it, anybody can have it,
Anybody can have it.
and we're all susceptible to it.
I mean, a lot of dictators were charismatic.
That is true.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of was like the main thing that pushed them like in the public stage is charisma.
Isn't it interesting how how personality, like when you have a forceful personality, that could be the driver to your success.
If only Hitler's parents raised him to be a little less ambitious.
Facts, man. Facts, bro. I heard that he wanted to become a painter, but
Yeah, and then he got, oh god, the memes that came from that.
yeah, terrible.
He tried to become a painter, got kicked out of the Austrian painting school, and decided that I guess. Wait! I just realized something. Why is that historically like the villain origin story of Hitler? You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't he fought in World War I and saw the horrors of the war that led him to on his path. It couldn't be that, no, right? It couldn't be the war. It couldn't be World War I.
Facts.
Yes.
I don't know.
It had to be art school, because everyone knows if you can't a literal art student and you make him and he can't get what he wants, he'll burn down the world around him.
It could also be that he got rejected by a Jewish teacher or something. I don't know.
There's a lot of rumors like that.
It's gotta be a reason why he hated them so much. But oh well.
Other thing too, like there's like people who spend like their little lives just like researching like Hitler and like World War II and like what led up to it, what the motives are for all the people around involved and stuff. That's crazy. It's like he did something that was so bad we can't even rationalize it by like normal like everyday standards.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta come with a super villain origin for everything. Like it couldn't just be that he was like into Jewish conspiracies and assumed the worst things of Jewish people, right? Because that doesn't typically lead to genocide. It's like a sequence of events that have led up to the point where it's genocide.
Mm-hmm. And
since it all starts off with Hitler, it's like he needs to have a supervillain scale reason for doing something that atrocious, right?
So it fascinates me that Hitler is more. I think he's more famous than Stalin. Oh wait.
Than Jesus, probably.
You think so? More than Jesus?
In America, they did probably not Jesus, honestly, but
The Son of Man?
the Ronald McDonald is more famous than Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really?
they did a survey with a bunch of children, around 8 years old or younger, and they showed them pictures like Santa Claus, Jesus, of the characters, stuff like that. And Ronald
No
McDonald.
fucking way.
Yeah, 31% recognized Ronald McDonald, 20% recognized Santa Claus, 25% recognized Jesus.
Was it done in America? I bet you.
It's America. It's American.
Of course. All right. Yeah, I think. Yeah, Hitler. There's something about Hitler though that really. Because I think Stalin is objectively the most. Vile human being that ever existed.
That's a good question though, because like if you're talking,
Vile, I mean, evil. How do you kill your own people? How do you kill your own people? Kill your own family members? Kill your own soldiers? Everybody, and you obliterate the history books to make yourself look like God. How? And the gulags, oh my God.
I
Can
mean,
you imagine you being sent to one of those, bro? In the middle of winter?
yo, but you know what else?
Freaking Russia?
This is the thing, like I'm trying to like wrap my mind around, just like the human capacity of that. Not only like the human capacity for evil, because like we've seen that happen a lot, but like, you imagine putting yourself in Stalin's shoes, right? Think about like the kind of like ways you think about stuff, like a normal person thinks about things. Like think about the way you flush your toilet, for example, right? When you like do your business and you flush the toilet, you don't think about where that water goes or like what your waste leads into or where it gets processed. It just goes away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. You don't have a bigger scope of mind to conceive of all your actions throughout the day, that how they affect the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine you're Stalin. Imagine like you just like you get a report. Village of 14,000 rebelled against your government. What are you gonna do? You're Stalin. Like you're running a country here. You're running a dictatorship, in fact, and like any dissent is objectively bad for your regime. So you just think from the point of view of like, this is gonna be bad for me. Set them off, right?
Yeah.
He didn't build the gulags. Well, he ordered them to be built, but he didn't physically build them. He didn't physically build all the torture machines. He didn't physically build like all the horrible systems and bureaucracies that leads into the system, right? That leads to the gulags. He just flushes them away. He doesn't have a concept of the 14,000 souls he just put to death.
Yeah.
He just sees that it's another Tuesday. He just leads his country. It's not. I think we put too much weight on individual people in these kinds of circumstances, because like as much as like influential and like as the head of this whole system that they were just people at the end of the day. They weren't able to process information at larger quantities or be aware of things like in a bigger scope, right? They were just kind of people in certain positions, leading the world, living their little world, and people around them that follow their orders to the best that they could, and not to get themselves in trouble. It's a misery machine.
There would be no power if there was no participation.
Yeah.
There would be no power if there was no cooperation.
There's as demoralizing it is to think about just how little power you have individually as a person in a big system that doesn't know who you are, you don't even know where you are in the system. You're just kind of working, trying to survive, right? You don't really think much about it. But you always have some level of choice in things, right? An example of that is during the Cold War, the Russian missile defense system detected a potential attack. And the orders came down to launch the nukes as a counterattack to the States. And the guy who was there had his finger on the button in the missile side, like, the soldier, the common soldier, the nuclear operator soldier that was in there with the button, decided not to. He was just waiting. And he decided not to go ahead with the order, the people barking to him. And because he didn't do that, it was made aware that the system was detecting was like a weird refraction of the light from the clouds. There was no attack. And if he launched the nukes, it would have caused World War III and killed everybody. A single man had stopped the apocalypse.
Wow.
And that has happened multiple times, not by the same person, but by different people, all just throughout the Cold War and just throughout time. They're just people who make a choice. They just make a choice because they don't even need to think about it that deeply. Some people just are too scared to move. And that's not even a choice they make sometimes. And just because of that, they prevent World War III. The system is very profound and large and impossible to navigate. But at the end of the day, you're still built by human choices. And sometimes our choices are more important than we think. And that can stop the war.
Wow. That was fantastic. Wow. Oh man. I'm just shocked, man, that how many times we read stories about it, man. And it's like, how could people do It's like, is the person who's just taking orders the evil person? Are they really evil or just, I don't know, man.
Evil. Maybe think about evil the way like somebody.
Like subservient actions. Do you think those are evil?
Yeah, they're evil.
Subservient actions.
They're evil in so they're evil in a very specific way. They're evil in the sense of just like the way like your choices can lead to evil, right? And like like your actions have consequences that lead to cause like chaos and strife in the world that you're not completely aware of, right? There's a certain kind of evil, which is the evil of like people not doing what they know should be right, or not doing what they know is like the right thing, right? And like you step aside and the car hits somebody. Well, you're not gonna stop the car. So like metaphorically, if you're in a position, let's say like you're taking orders from a very scary dude that's gonna shoot you if you don't follow the orders, right? And your order is to like gun down a family. Gunning down a family is objectively evil, right? You're in a position where if you don't do it, you're gonna die. Yeah. I still think that's an evil action, even if you do it to save yourself and maybe to save people that you care about. Doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. Just you still made an evil action, right? That's why the Nazis are still like trying the Geneva Convention. Even if you're following orders, you're still doing something evil. That's kind of like what was like that president said.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's like where the hazy part is, right? Because like if you do something evil, that makes you an evil person. But if all your actions were done under duress of death by an evil or a directly evil person, then like there's like we feel like that's all there's some level of responsibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
But why didn't you shoot him back? Why didn't you shoot the guy that was giving you the orders? Because it probably like lead to you dying too, right? There's like always a choice.
Yeah. But if you kill the guy who gave you the orders, then the people higher than him are going to come at you. Possibly the people in the same level as he are going to come after you. So you're fucked.
There's a podcast called Hardcore History with Dan Carlin, I think his name is. I'm sorry to butcher his name, but he has a good metaphor. It's called "People Getting Crushed in the Gears of History." And from his podcast, I take that to mean that like sometimes there's things that happen in the world that are so big, so massive, and so like what's the word? Unstoppable. That a lot of people get caught in the gears of it, like they get trampled over events in history. Like when World War I happened, and let's say you're a small European country, and World War I happens, and your country gets like steamrolled by the Germans on their way to Poland, let's say, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're caught in the gears of history. There's nothing you could do. You weren't given a choice. You weren't put in a position where like you could have stopped it. It just happened because bigger things were happening around somewhere else, and they found its way to your doorstep. And as those gears wound their way through history, you were caught in those gears and crushed.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I would call it like that soldier that gets commanded to like commit atrocities under threat of death. He's fucked either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is very existentially tragic in a sense.
Wow, man. That's why we need a second coming of Christ.
Yeah, man. Although, with like a second coming, what if he needs a third or a fourth?
I was thinking just that, yeah.
What if he's already had a third or a fourth? What if there's already a sequence of comings that's already happened?
You say that the world has become more peaceful overall.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, it's become more prosperous. Obviously, we have some pockets of poverty here and there, but
World poverty has like gone down to like levels never before seen in recorded history.
right.
Yeah.
All thanks to capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
All thanks to capitalism. So that's a sure sign
Of it not being
of
like,
progress.
yeah.
It's not hopeless. You know?
I would think that's definitely not hopeless because, you're still alive, you still, still possibilities if you're still alive. I would say there's a lot of lies and there's a lot of like deceiving. Like no one really like has a full story of what's going on. But you know, apocalyptic ages have gone and have like come and gone. Like humanity has survived hundreds of extinction events possibly. Like that could have happened in their society. We survived hundreds of plagues. We survived thousands of wars. We survived. Not all of us survived. There's a lot of genocides that happened throughout history. But there's still good that's still good that happens even after a world that's been tainted by so much destruction. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there is hope. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That story they told about the guy who didn't push the button even when he was barked orders at.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That touched my soul.
Yeah.
And I hope it touched yours. It better have touched yours.
The cameras are there.
We're here.
There at that point. Here. At the bottom of that score.
It better have touched yours. If not, you're a bad person.
And if you're a bad person, don't be a dictator. You're barred.
Exactly. Take those words seriously, because we'll come to get you.
Possibly.
No, not at all. Anyways, yeah. But that was a great conversation.
Yeah, man.
It was nice having you on my show. Mm-hmm. And stay tuned, guys, because there's more to come.